Next, let's talk about lists in Bootstrap 3. If we look at our About page, we notice we have an unordered list of information here. These are the attributions for some photos we're using on our site. It's just a simple unordered list. The first thing you should notice is that an unordered list is being styled as a simple bulleted list if we don't do anything special. But Bootstrap has some special classes that will help us make some decisions about how we want this to be shown. If we look at this unordered list and simply put list unstyled, this will leave the list, but it will get rid of the indentation as well as any of the bullets themselves. So sometimes you want to use the structure of an unordered list, but you don't want it to really look like a bulleted list. Another option here is list inline. This will take that same list, but it's going to put all the items left to right. So it's going to float each next to each other so that even though you have the structure of an unordered list, you're allowing that list to propagate left to right and to wrap based on the container it's in. The last thing that's useful here is to actually use a list style called group. And with a list group, we're going to need to specify that each of these items is a list group item. So I'm going to go ahead and create the classes on each of these LIs, and there's a few of them, so let's be patient. And now when we look at them, we're going to get a table-like experience. It's going to look a bit like a selection or a list group like we're used to in something like iOS. There are cases when this can be pretty useful. And this list group is going to be depending on whatever the container it's in. So if we come up here and let's wrap our whole element inside of a div, and I'll use the grid system again. Let's say take half the page. Now we have this taking whatever that container is in it, and in our case that's just going to be something that's going to take half the page. We can also use the idea of active, just like we could in the nav. We can add active to one of the items, and that item will be highlighted depending on the color of that background. We set it to another, that one will be highlighted. And adding and removing active is a common way that you might handle clicking or selecting of an item as well. The last piece that's often useful here is being able to put before the item just a span called a badge. This is going to allow you to create a small element at the end of the group item to indicate something, number of messages, whether something has been selected, whatever you might want here. You might even want a glyph icon. So if you need to create something that has that sort of list feel, but you don't want to have a simple bulleted list, Bootstrap 3 gives us a number of options to do that.